the changes that technology brings our way and the improvements I have seen technology done to. Today, what we want to see is we want to address the challenges that has made Africa seem to remain underdeveloped. We have great potentials, no doubt. Across every field of human endeavor, you can mention someone of African descent who has excelled. And I dare say that the only thing limiting Africa is Africa. We have a whole lot of reasons why we are where we are, but I believe strongly that as Africans, particularly the younger demographics of Africa, we can change the narrative and make things a lot better. Growing up, my father would say the best legacy you can leave for a child would be education. It is not in material wealth, because a million naira today in 10 years' time, due to inflation and devaluation, could lose value. But when you leave someone educated, when you leave someone enlightened, when you leave someone with a knowledge about how things are done and how to improve our situation, you would have left a legacy that nobody can take away from there. And they can only just improve from there. 30, 40 years ago, farming was done by way of hoes, shovels, rakes, and the rest of them, making ridges and planting. Today, Israel is leading, the nation of Israel is leading the revolution in mechanized farming. And we all see that happening even across Nigeria, where we borrow the technology and have partnerships with them. So you see that technology is the pivot for change. And that is what Digital Africa is all about. Leveraging technology to improve the narrative and change the narrative of Africa. We can do it, and we are glad to want to partner with budding techpreneurs. Like I said by way of introduction yesterday during our practice session, I said the new frontier in economy would be headed by techpreneurs. These are individuals who have leveraged a convergence of technology and business to provide solution to everyday's problem. So it is not about thinking outside the box, it's about looking for technological solutions to problems that mankind faces. Today, you can actually conduct a surgical procedure without necessarily being physically present. It might seem far-fetched, but if you are, permit me to use this analogy, if you watch movies a lot or series, one of the episodes of Money Heist, I was surprised how they performed a surgery on one of the actress who had a gunshot from miles across. And the hub for the operations, for the internet operations, is in another country. That is the beauty of technology. So it's time for us to think outside the box. It's time for us to embrace technology. It's time for us to see how we can converge and leverage technology to improve our narrative and improve mankind. Thank you very much. And please be with us.
Awesome.
You have a lot of benefit throughout this training. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mike. So, Edem, please let's keep it brief. Just in a minute, just introduce yourself. We just want to know you and know so that we know the perspective you're talking about from. Just in 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you very much, Jude. So my name is Edem Baniba. I am a Ghanaian. I'm currently living in Accra. I'm based in Accra currently. I'm an ICT business professional. I'm also a value equation certified practitioner. So when Jude invited me to join the Digital Africa Network, I saw this as a great opportunity to come on board to support people like me, so people who are very passionate about technology, who like to maximize the use of technology for solving problems, really for the African context, right? So I'm really looking forward to the bootcamp, and yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Edem. Let's go to Phil. Phil, please can we meet you in 30 seconds?
30 seconds. Hi there, I'm from South Africa, Philippa. I've got a company called Purple Raindrop. I'm an MBA, a PMP, CSM, etc. But just as Michael's passion is tech, my passion is more people and how that tech works with people. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I think Africa has an enormous amount of potential to offer the world. And I think so often as Africans, we look to what the USA are doing or what the UK are doing, and we don't look at home. And I think it's time that as Africans, we stood up and went, actually, we are very, very, very talented and we are very innovative. And I think it's time that we, that we really work towards putting Africa on the map. And just as Michael said as well, changing the narrative out there that Africa is a place that needs everybody's help and pity and everything else, when actually what we have is we have an enormous amount of potential to give. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you, Phil. Let's move to Mr. Daniel. Mr. Daniel, please can we meet you in 30 seconds?
All right, good evening, Africa. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that today has finally come. My name is Daniel, electrical electronics engineer, an investment banker, and a project management professional. In the last 3-4 years, I've been actively involved in helping budding fintech companies emerge. So I'm really looking forward to this bootcamp. It's going to be an exciting time, you know, with the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Mr. Obinaya, we have met you before, but let's meet you again for the purpose of this panel.
Thank you very much, Jude. Like I said, my name is Obinaya. I'm a public speaker, a personal development trainer, and an entrepreneurship coach. I use the wisdom in African proverbs to teach life and business principles. I am an Igbo man, and like my people will say, "Akajaja witara onu manu manu." A sandy hand, a sand-soiled hand, as in the case of the hard-working farmer, begets oily lips. So we must get ready to dirty our hands in the work, not literally, but in anything we undertake to do in the next 2 months, so we achieve results. I wish you the very best. I'm ready for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Obinna. And the
are you on a hands-free?
Yes.
Better.
Okay, so my name is Simeon Onenobi. I am a tech entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for about 20 years. I started my first company when I was 16 years old. I am most notably known for building Green, which is the federal government project that created jobs. I created the idea and gave it to the federal government. I built the first mobile app for banks in Nigeria with the GT Bank Mobile Velocity. I started the first fintech company way back in 2010 called Pay. Currently, I run a company called Analytics. We were recently invited into Silicon Valley to get funding. I am based out of San Francisco for the moment, but predominantly in Lagos all year round. What else? I mentor with the Founders Institute in San Francisco. I don't know any other thing. I don't know what else to say, but I'm glad to be here and I'm glad to share my perspective towards startups and tech entrepreneurship.
To look at digital entrepreneurship in Africa, the foundation for success. And before we move on, so we want our participants starting from Mr. Daniel. Please can you tell us how did Africa get here? It's obvious there's a whole lot of disadvantages in the business sector in Africa. There is a state of unemployment, lack of infrastructure. How did Africa get here? And how did Africa get here, and how can we change the narrative? You have 2 minutes.
All right. I have spoken in different forums, and I've told people that it's high time we as Africans actually stop the blame game and then begin to look forward. But the truth about it is that if we do not look at how we get here, we may not actually chart a path on where we are going. Africa, as a country, I believe so much, was designed to fail. Designed to fail by the people that we are here, by the colonial masters and all that. But now the question is, 60 years after colonization, 50 years after colonization, as African countries, why are we here? One thing comes to mind: leadership, leadership, leadership. Every sustainable society is built around it. And the job of every responsible leadership is to make sure that those institutions, those systems that are put in place are strengthened to outlive them.
And now here she is playing an original song called Haggis and Moonlight. Please welcome the lovely.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dana.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let's move to Mr. Duru. Mr. Duru, do you have anything to add to that? How did Africa?
In Africa.
I'm sorry, you're still on, okay. Okay, Mr. Dana, I think we come back to you. Let's move to Mr. Dana. We come back to you. Let's move to Mr. Duru. Mr. Duru, do you have anything to add? How did Africa get here, and how can we move forward?
Thank you once again, Jude. Yeah, and thank you, panel and participants. It's very easy, and I'm going to try to keep this under 5 minutes. Like I said, it is very easy to trace our history. In 1972, there was a book written by Walter Rodney, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. And then in the book, he posits that Africa developed Europe at the same rate where Europe was underdeveloping Africa. And if you look at it today, it is still very true, because from the point where we had colonization to African countries began to gain independence, it might seem that we gained political independence, but can we truly say that we are truly an independent nation? Can we truly say that Africa is truly independent of the interference and the challenges that have been brought about by the issues that were left unresolved by colonization? And what are these issues? We inherited, unfortunately, as a continent, power politics. Before the colonialists came, there were some systems of political administrations in our various hamlets, villages, towns, and cities as they were. But you know, when we were colonized and we gained independence, prior to, there was indirect rule in certain parts of Nigeria, for instance, and then there was direct rule, you know, and then we saw an amalgamation of people who had different backgrounds and different political ideologies and perceptions. And this power politics has bedeviled Africa, because what you see is an Africa that, yes, says it practices democracy, but can we truly say that Africa is truly obeying the tenets of democracy, one of which is the rule of law? Also, economic exploitation. It is often said that when the colonialists came, they asked us to kneel down and let us pray. And while Africans closed their eyes to pray, the colonialists helped themselves to African resources. It is sad to say that up to this day, the year 2020, we still have to refine our petroleum products as a nation outside the shores of Nigeria. And it's one of the challenges that we know, if we can overcome, would position us very well. But quickly, you see that the world is fast moving away from fossil fuel, from dependence in petroleum products. Now we are embracing other forms of technology, and we have driverless cars today. So in no distant time, our dependence in petroleum probably would be a thing of extinction. So basically, what power politics has done to Africa is to give rise to totalitarianism. It has given rise to corruption. It has given rise to civil unrest. And all this has led to brain drain. So you see a lot of Africans who are excelling outside the shores of Africa. And it has left Africa underdeveloped. And it is time for us to do something about it, come back to our roots, and see how we can leverage technology to change our narrative. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Simeon, let's come to you, especially as somebody who is in the field. And let's focus on what, especially with our audience, the young Africans. We are seeing how Africa got to where we are, except you have something to add on that. But instead, let's focus on what can we change the narratives, especially as young Africans. Mr. Simeon.
Thank you. I don't know if you guys can hear me perfectly. I switched to my laptop. Hear me?
Very well. We can hear you, sir. Very well.
Okay. So yeah. So I don't know if you heard my my introduction. I have always, loved entrepreneurship. I've always been within the circles. I mentor circles, and I understand the fact that there are a lot of issues. I always keep saying it. There's going to be issues. Like, you can never stop solving the issues. And I've always been someone that practices focus on the problem, you become the problem. The reason I say that is, if we keep focusing on the problems, we will keep being the problem. But if we focus on a solution, we'll probably become a solution. And what that means for me is the fact that it's not to ignore the fact that there are problems. There are always going to be problems. In Africa, trust me, speak from now to 20 years, we're still going to have problems. We're still going to have issues. But we're not focusing on trying to build ourselves. We're focusing on what has happened. And I believe that for us to move forward, we need to focus on what hasn't happened. And what hasn't happened so far is the fact that we've not learned from successful people. So if we look at the Valley, for instance, in San Francisco, it's an economy that can even run, a part of itself. Like during the coronavirus, you realize that tech entrepreneurs were pumping money. Like they raised over like $7 billion from just physical individuals, like young boys within the age of 20 to 27. How did they do this? It was simple. They focused on helping themselves. They focused on collaboration. They focused on building themselves. And that's what has happened in the ecosystem. What you notice is Twitter has a problem tomorrow. Facebook or Microsoft or Google would lend a hand. Would, you wouldn't believe this. Microsoft has shares in Facebook. Microsoft has shares in Google. Microsoft has shares in other things. Like they collaborate in such a way that they can collaborate but still compete. We don't have that in Africa. We have this mentality of, I pass my neighbor. So I don't know if this is the right forum to say this, but if we keep doing that, we'll never grow. We'll never grow above each other. Like, if I have a generator, nobody else should have a generator. Like, why should the next man have a generator? What has he done? Who is he? Instead of collaborating, we see ourselves competing all the time. We see ourselves dragging ourselves. We talk about simple racism in America, for instance. There is a lot in Africa going on in Africa. I can't go to Congo and start up a business. I'm seen as a Nigerian. I can't go to Ghana and start up a business. I'm seen as a Nigerian. I'm seen as someone that's come to steal, to kill, to destroy, not someone that's come to help the economy. The same thing within Nigeria. Like, go from Lagos to Abuja, go from Abuja to Kano. You're seen as coming to destroy. You're not seen as coming to build an economy. So if we can leverage that Dubai-ish nature, where Dubai would bring everybody. I mean, they've written to us to come to Dubai to start up our business. They've given us free stuff. Now, the reason is simple. If we can help the Dubai economy to grow, it is good for them. They don't care. They take the glory. The same thing we should be trying to do. There are a lot of Nigerians, a lot of Africans that are out here that are great minds, but we're not giving them that opportunity to even collaborate. Forget government. Do we have enough people that I can come around and say, hey, I'm coming back to Nigeria to start up a business? Do we have somewhere in Yaba that I can, get somewhere to stay? Can I get, where is the best broadband and stuff like that? We can't even help ourselves. We try to antagonize against each other. Now, if we can get to that point where we can actually work together as a team, then digital economy becomes real. Like, we focus on actually helping pull each other up so that the economy can gain at the end of the day. It's not who did it, it is who did we do it for? So we're not doing it for ourselves, we're doing it for who it will become. So if we keep focusing on, killing ourselves and trying to have these dialogues around, stuff and government killing us, government will keep killing us because we focus on the wrong things. The most lucrative business in Africa today are two. Either you're a church pastor or you're a politician. I don't care who you are. Those are the two most lucrative parts of Africa today. I mean, the day you become an elected official, you become very rich. The day you become a church pastor, you probably become very rich. So at the end of the day, those are the two most lucrative. How do you build an economy? How do you build, when people still keep focusing on those things, how do we build it? There are a lot of lavishing going on. You'd see someone that got into oil and gas yesterday. Today, he has a private jet. Why would I want to be like that? Why would you tell me to come and start studying digital economy? You see people that go into music and they become, glorified, role models. Why would I not want to do that? If we focus on helping ourselves, if I can contribute my $5,000 to building another startup, and all of us here can contribute $1,000 and build the next big thing in Africa, we will leapfrog it. But we're not doing that. All of us are rushing back. My company today is an American company. It started from Africa. It started from Nigeria. But today, I have been forced by the Americans. If I want their money, if I want to grow my business, I need to convert my company to an American company. And I had to do it just to raise money. So at the same time, these things are happening. They're taking the little thing that we can't even see in future. We can't see that we are building an economy already with great minds and great startups. Kobo 360 raised $40 million. It's an American company. It's not a Nigerian company. Stop calling it a Nigerian company. Paystack raised $10 million. It's not a Nigerian company. It's an American company. Flutterwave is now worth over $250 million. It is not a Nigerian company. It's an American company. We need to get to the point where we realize that this thing is happening under our noses because we're not coming together. You don't need someone from outside to grow these things. You need us within to grow it ourselves. And that's the only time we can actually grow. I don't know if I'm taking my time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Simeon. Let's come to you, Phil. Mr. Simeon brought in a perspective about Africans not competing, but collaborating. So Phil, how do you think we can change the narrative, especially leveraging the power of coming together, the power of network, the power of collaboration?
I think it's quite tricky. I think that we need to build relationships with investors from other places. I think that there's an inherent distrust with a lot of investors that we need to access overseas. I think there's an inherent distrust because if something comes from Africa, I think there's this idea that it's somehow not good enough or not something that they can actually trust their investment to. I think that there's a lot of work that we need to overcome as a continent ourselves, where we present ourselves as knowledgeable, where we present our tech itself as tech that is worthy. And I think we have an enormous opportunity for people to invest in companies, in organizations, in an enormous number of things that are not NGO related or anything like that. I think that we need to get over our inferiority complex as Africa. I think we have a huge inferiority complex, and I think that we don't present ourselves as being worthy a lot. And I think that we need to start building those inroads. And I think part of that is working at conferences, going to events, putting our insights out there on LinkedIn, on our micro blogs, on everything else. Jude, you and I met at a conference, and I want to say Washington, but I could be wrong. Could have been Ghana. I think that you build those kind of international relationships and those international connections when you are talking to people, and you can talk to people online, and you can build that reputation and you can build that trust up with people online. And I think that it's something that as Africans we need to get better at. I think we need to get better at how we present ourselves. I think we need to get better at marketing ourselves. I work with a number of people who have amazing ideas, and they have these awesome innovative things that they have, and you kind of go like, why is the world not knocking your door down to give you money to invest in you so that you can actually take this thing to production? That you can, there's an amazing gentleman who I've worked with who has basically developed the ability to dry bath, which in Africa where we don't have enough water, it's a huge thing, but a lot of people don't know about him because he doesn't market himself well enough. And I think it comes down to how well we market ourselves all over the world and how well we present ourselves. And I think that as Africans we need to get better at that. I think we need to get better at being able to tell our story, and to tell the story that we want to tell, not the story that people shame. They're from Africa, let's give them $10,000, translate that into rands and you can buy a flipping house. So I think we need to get better at telling our story and telling a story that is worthwhile and trustworthy. And I think that that's where we need to start. Actually, no one's going to change our story for us. No one's coming to rescue us. We have to rescue ourselves. And I think that needs to be something that every single entrepreneur that I work with has learned the hard way many times. Nobody rescues you. You rescue yourself. And that could mean that you make relationships with people, that you make relationships with other organizations. It could be that you get investors yourself, but the thing is, if you don't start a plan to rescue yourself, no one's going to help you actually build your business up. And that starts with the story that you start to tell yourself, and the story that you start to tell others about you and what you do.
All right, thank you, Phil. You brought in some perspective. You said something about no one can rescue you, you need to rescue yourselves. So basically saying that Africans, we need to rescue ourselves. And Simeon said something about collaboration and not competition. So I want to go to Mr. Daniel. So Mr. Daniel, can you bring in some perspective to that? As Africans, how can we rescue ourselves? And how can we do this collaborating with one another?
A lot has been said about how we are going to rescue ourselves. What I want to add is that as Africans, we need a change of mindset. Number one, we need to believe that we can. We need to believe that we are not disadvantaged. Just like you rightly presented during your speech. See, the devil is not black. Black does not mean evil. There is a lot that we can do as Africans to liberate Africans. And that change will have to start with us. What can we do as individuals to effect a change? How can we collaborate to solve societal issues? I always have this quote that I got from a mentor, and I've heard on that quote for over 50 years. He taught me that 100% of zero is zero. The 1% of a million is a lot. So as Africans, we begin to look at these things. I have an idea, you have a platform, you know the technology. How do we solve these issues? anytime I travel out of Nigeria, what I see is opportunities. I see gaps everywhere that is begging for a replication of those ideas in Nigeria. You know, and of course, that happens all over Africa. So how do we begin to incubate those ideas in businesses? How do we begin to leverage on what we already have? The good news about Africa, or the good news about the climate that we are living in, is that all limitations and barriers that held down our predecessors, the barriers that held down our parents, has been removed. In Africa, no matter where you live, you can leverage on any resource across the world. The boundaries of businesses has been broken. So as an African business, you can effectively take your ideas or take whatever you're doing across the borders of your country. So let's begin to think inwards. What are the issues around my environment? How can I begin to leverage on technology to solve them? Meditech has been around for a long time, but COVID-19 has brought it to fore. It's obvious now that, look, we need their services in the period of pandemic. EduTech has been neglected in Africa. A lot of people are not leveraging on online studies and all that. Today is the order of the day. And of course, even religious tech right now, because churches already are looking for solutions that will enable them reach out to their people wherever they are. So for us to bridge the gap, yes, there are challenges, but we need to look beyond those challenges. We need to look beyond those limitations and begin to leverage on each other, begin to leverage on technology. You know, begin to collaborate to take advantage of the opportunities that are bound everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Yeah, everybody's talking about collaboration. Yeah, I think one of the panelists mentioned it. I can't remember if it's a Phil or Simeon, but one challenge is doubt. Sometimes we seem to suspect each other. So, Mr. Idem, I want to come to you. How can we change the narrative by collaborating? And how can we solve this problem of trust? Mr. Idem.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you, Jude, very much for the question. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. So yeah, I think basically if we look at the story of the African, Africa as a continent is blessed with a lot of resources, yeah. But then if we are here, we are now at this current state because we have not been able to manage these resources to our advantage. Perhaps we have not had leadership that would have our interest also at heart. So that has sort of trickled down to the common African, where we don't trust ourselves because the people we have put in charge, the people we have put in authority are not looking out for the interest of the common man, but they are looking out for the interest for their own. They are only going after their own personal interest. So I think this is what has trickled down to the individual fighting for survival, everyone for himself, God for us all. Basically how we can move beyond this, going back to what has been shared by my colleague Simeon, taking Simeon's example, we can work together, collaborate, even though we run different businesses, for example. It doesn't, because different resources can be used to work together to achieve a common goal. We can work together with our different cultures. We can think of solutions that are based on our current environment. Taking, for example, the mobile money application, the M-Pesa, that was started in East Africa. Taking Kenya, for example, this is a solution that was developed based on the African problem, right? I think most banks lose out on people who don't have a lot of income. So they are mostly targeting high income earners for bank accounts. But this challenge, which is typically seen mostly in our region, has also been used as an opportunity to create a mobile application that can be able to bank the unbanked. So that's the marketing term for this, where people who don't have enough income, for example, are able to have their income on mobile wallets. And these guys can also be part of the digital space. They can do business with also digital technologies. So the long and short of what I'm trying to say is, we have unique challenges, right? We have unique challenges. We have unique cultures. We have unique ideas, and it's high time we take advantage of our differences and translate that into solutions that work for us all, in our context. Yeah, I think we have to use these differences to our advantage in order to solve our unique problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And finally, on this, we come to there are a whole lot has been said around collaboration, around the relationships. So, Mr. Obinaya, more like on a practical, as a young African who is on this call listening to this, how do I start changing the narrative? How do I start contributing? And how do I start initiating this? How do I reach out from Accra, Ghana to somebody who is in Kenya? Can you guide us? How can a young African on this call initiate this process?
Thank you very much, Jude. You solved the problem when you were speaking. You said we are a click away from the Pope over there in Rome, a click away from POTUS. Today, I tweeted at Donald Trump when I was reacting to the young man in Minnesota. Just a tweet. And I can assure you that I tweeted at a few other people. That's the power of technology. I can assure you that with the device we have in our hands, someone once said, can't remember who said it, whether it was Kiyosaki or someone, that if the phone you are carrying in your hands does not make you money, throw it away. And I use a lot of proverbs in speaking. And even as I speak, Jude, try checking your WhatsApp. I sent you some chats, and also check the chat. A lot is going on the chat platform. I like what I'm seeing. One of the things I would say here is the power of collaboration. Power of collaboration. Dr. Gideon, whom I would request that we give a chance to speak here, who is already chatting with Philippe and a couple of our people doing infrastructure and a lot of our people, taught us something in business school, Enterprise Development Center on Atlantic University, where you also have the Lagos Business School as a faculty. He taught us that you should turn your competitors to collaborators. And our brother, I believe it's Nonubi, was talking and said that you have Microsoft investing in other platforms. The people who call the Yibo people, those who colonized us, have found a way to collaborate with themselves. Now, they do not, like I think it was Juru said, do not own 100% of zero. I've always said it, I'd rather have 2% of 100 companies than 100% of nothing. And what I have discovered is that, yes, in our environment, there are limitations. Yes, the budget of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for this year is 10.52 trillion thereabout. Yes, because the price of crude has dropped below a profitable margin, we have had to reduce our budget to about 10.2 trillion, cutting off over 300 billion. But the interesting thing about the digital space, like our brother, I think Simeon said, is that you have fintech firms that are selling off. You have 8-year-olds on YouTube having over 34 billion followers. You have the Kim Kardashians of this world on Instagram having over 151 million followers. But one interesting thing I've discovered in my research, because I had to go back to business school last year to take out a course on digital literacy, and I was shocked that as of February 25 last year, Kim Kardashian already had 121 million followers. By March 8th, when I was speaking as a public speaker at the International Women's Day, which is marked on March 8th every year, I was using the same statistics to say she had 121 million followers. And someone called my attention to the fact that she, as at March 8th, 2019, was already on 131 million followers. This year, I had cause to have an interaction on a faith-based platform. And the gentleman who facilitated Chikokwe told us that she was already on 151 million followers. Now, this may begin to make sense to those of you who are on the digital space, but for those who are still playing on the analog, I will need to explain this. All that lady needs, which I'm sure she has, Kim Kardashian has an e-commerce site attached to her name because she's building her brand. She's building brand equity, brand value. She's creating value using her brand. All she needs is just like 1 million. I'm not a greedy person. Just 1 million persons. The least lipstick that is sold on her e-commerce platform is sold at $10. $2 for logistics, $4 for the company that makes the lipstick, and $4 for her. Please do the math after this whole event. $4 multiplied by 1 million people will give you an idea how much this lady makes just by creating digital platforms on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on wherever she plays, and we consuming the content she throws out there. The good book says knowledge is profitable to direct. And one of the things they taught us in business school is OPM, other people's money. Let the Igbo men come in. Dr. Gideon just started, and the Philippa corroborated the story. The fear that Simeon is chatting, all of chatting, and they mentioned the fact that some chaps are coming from abroad to come pick our people from here. No problem. We have come to a point where Abike Dabre, who is the head of the Diaspora Commission, said, we are ready to export our people abroad. Not on the high seas, but to go acquire the knowledge of the West. But what we are doing is we are not losing them. It's no longer brain drain. It is brain donation. We're donating them to the West to acquire the know-how. But the interesting thing is that the digital space has made it so easy for us to acquire knowledge from our homes. And like our brother Drew mentioned, we now sit in our homes and our children are on Google platforms, other platforms, and they are learning. Now, my daughter, who is 10 years, is beginning to say that she's not in a hurry to return to school because she's very comfortable with the platforms and she's learning much, she's researching on Google and so on. My 8-year-old son has all the knowledge about football in his head. So what I'm saying is, it's not all doom. My people talk say, and permit me to get that colloquial, so bring this knowledge down so it doesn't get too intellectual. My people talk say, bad ground, now better ground for native doctor. Any village where people they sick, any village where people fall ill, in those days, the native doctors were the ones that provided solutions. So the native doctor of today, which we all are the solution providers. What did the native doctors do? The native doctors had trained eyes, meaning that we must acquire the right knowledge. Someone just chatted about responsibility. Responsibility can only be founded or be foundationed, if there's any English like that, on knowledge. What knowledge do we have? We cannot just sit on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, dancing around. Young people are doing awesome stuff on these platforms. But I will also announce this here. I was speaking on the 700 Club, the Christian Broadcasting Network, some weeks ago. And I said, people are jumping online. So the good book says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. What are you going to present? The Yorubas will tell you that 20 children born the same year can never play together for 20 years. When you get online, the quality of your presentation, your branding, your packaging, my people say, the first chop before mouth go chop. The eye eats before the mouth eats. Your presentation, the sight and feel of your presentation matters. And when you finally arrive there, remember you're not the only one that will be competing there. What is your USP? Your unique serving, not just selling. Your unique serving proposition. And I'll say this last and then I let others speak. We must adopt the Suya-man strategy. This is something that I used to teach. If you have ever gone to buy suya, meat, stick meats in Nigeria, or the ones that they stick on the roadsides, what does the suya man do first? The suya man will cut a piece, put in yachi, the small thing that they mix with granuts or whatever, and then they give you to taste. Once you taste it, and your taste buds get acquainted, emotionally attached to that meat, you're most likely to dip your hands in your pocket and give that man money. So what has happened is that he has created value for you, but the way he presented that value is what matters. You have to get the hearts of the people before you ask for their hands. What we are about to achieve here is huge. Everyone must get ready to go on this journey. And I encourage us to network across Africa, 54, 55 countries, ECOWAS, 15 countries. Language may not be a barrier over time. If we have to get translators, let's get them. The only people that can save us is Africans. Oyibo man will not come and save us. And when I say Oyibo, I'm not talking about the color of the skin. I'm talking about mindset. Like someone said, black is in the mind. And I don't mind being called black. If I'm actually black, I may actually be great. Long and short is, it is value you present on the table. Now, the person who they see harm for counter, they can't give. It is the person that is close to the fire that his yam will roast quickly. We must present ourselves to the counter. If you don't buy the ticket, play the lottery, you will never win. Thank you, Jude. Thank you, everyone.
As for that valuable insight, while we move towards winding down this discussion, I want to announce to our participants, the Digital Africa champions, and any other person who is following us, this is not just meant to be, we know that this subject cannot be fully discussed within the 90-minute space we have in this program, but it's going to be an ongoing discussion. For those who have registered to participate in this boot camp, there is a learning management platform they've been introduced to, where they can interact further, where they can interact with facilitators, where they can ask their questions, and where they can make their perspectives known. I also want to announce to anybody who is listening to us, including the participants, the Digital Africa Network, and everybody who is interested in enabling Digital Africa. You can continue and share your perspective on Twitter. Just use the hashtag Digital Africa, and you can tag us Digi-Africa. It's going to be a continuing discussion. We want to let everyone in Africa share this perspective. Now, dear distinguished panelists, before we go, I think I want us to respond to this, starting from Mr. Simeon. Now, I think somebody mentioned, I think it's Mr. Daniel, that there's a whole lot of opportunities. So let's not go out here saying there's a whole lot of opportunities. Maybe can we be a bit specific? Maybe mention one or two, maybe in 2 or 3 minutes, opportunities in the digital space. A young African on this call can quickly jump on and move on. Mr. Simeon.
Okay, thanks. The truth of the matter is this. I always say it's not easy to just tell someone what to do. I will quickly try and answer one question before I jump into this. Somebody asked a question and said, this collaboration with competition is really not good. It's really not easy. And the truth of the matter is, yes, it is not easy to actually collaborate with your competition. And when I say competition, I mean that we are actually already competing against each other. So what you would notice in Africa is simple. If I have an idea, like for instance, I want to take a small niche of a particular idea. So I don't want to go into fashion. I want to go into only female gloves, for instance. Now, instead of me partnering with a company that is already into that space, that does not give female gloves or does not do female gloves, and use their platform to grow, what you find out is that once I mention what I want to do, that company starts doing female gloves. Now, it's because of that mentality of, let me just be the one to do this. If we can figure out a way to actually come together to do things together. Today, my company, we're partnering InterSwitch, we're partnering Sterling Bank, we're partnering UBA, we're partnering with all the banks because we have figured out a niche that they don't have, and we have created a way for them not to even be able to copy us. Rather, we have gone to them to say, let's work together. Let's help you do this and do this and do that. And if we can keep doing that, yes, it's still a risk, but if we can keep doing that, we will help ourselves grow. Now, back to what any entrepreneur would want to do. I would say everything is doable. It is only dependent on execution. You can build anything. You can build a rocket going to space, but it's just your execution that matters. So for me, it is, what is that one thing that you can actually execute that makes you happy,
that you can execute on easily. Find somebody that is doing it and leverage on that person's platform. There is a lady that does cosmetics, that does massage and has a parlor. She did not have money to set up her own place. What did she do? She went to a barbing salon and said, you know what, give me a part of your location. When somebody comes to cut their hair, let me, give them massage. Let me do beauty therapy and stuff like that. She went to and now she has over 4 locations and she has not paid for any. So the idea is that you can actually leverage other people to build your own brand if you can, figure out a way to collaborate with that brand. Now, you don't have to go openly to go and fight your competition, but like we always say, if you can actually work together, then you can build something bigger. It is not in the 10 cents or 20 cents that I'll make. There's a competition right now that we are investing in. We are trying to put money in that competition. It is something that we wanted to do in future, but we realized that we cannot do everything. Right now, we are putting our money in that to keep them closer and be able to use their platform. If they grow, we grow. I don't need to be the one to own it, but I can use their platform anytime I want. So at the end of the day, if whatever it is that you want to do, is it in edtech, is it in agri-tech, is it in, what we do big data. So it depends on what you actually want to achieve and how you want to achieve it. And once execution is done perfectly, then that is all you need. Once you can execute, I don't advise people to just do things because somebody said edtech is now winning, so go into edtech, or agri-tech is winning, go to agri-tech. At the end of the day, you get it's the same problems you will have. Regulation will kill you. This will happen. Your crops will die. There won't be your insurance will not help you. So at the end of the day, it's not exactly just copying something. It is, what do you think? What is that problem that you want to solve? Then start figuring out how to solve it. Most times, the entrepreneurs that have actually won are entrepreneurs that are solving personal problems that they had. I have a program I started, and I'm like showcasing African entrepreneurs that are doing great. The guy that I had last week, what did he do? He couldn't pay for office. What he did was he got people together to pay for an office, and from there he spun out a business. Today he's housing British. He's housing the British High Commission. He's housing so many other people that are using his location for office space. But he just came up for, I cannot pay. How can I go and pay 2 million for office? I only have 300,000. He got 10 other friends of his, and they got a full office space. Today he owns box office. So at the end of the day, it is, what is that solution? What is that problem that you need to solve? If you can solve that problem, then you have a business. Now you can now start thinking about making it a business. But if you don't have a problem and you're trying to copy from someone, it becomes very, very difficult to be able to run it. But if you have a problem you want to solve, then you can handle it. So just look for, like Obinaya said, look for what your competition is lacking, strengthen it, and you become a big company. Just look for little things. Right now, for instance, we're trying to help. For instance, Dangote doesn't know where they sell cement. They only know they sell cement. They give it to distributors. Distributors go and distribute. Right now, what we're trying to figure out is who is buying the cement for them. And it is a big problem for them. That's our solution. We are trying to solve that for them. So at the end of the day, you need to figure out what is that problem you're trying to solve and just solve it. But don't go and start copying, because this person is in fintech, I copy fintech. You will die. If you try and do it, you will die. It's not a joke. You will. So go and do what do what you solve problems that you know that you have the capacity to solve. And most times it's personal problems. Once you have a personal problem, you want to eat cabbage and you can't find cabbage, go and start looking for how to make it a business, make it a bigger business, because every other person wants to look for cabbage. You want to eat in a restaurant and there is no power. Maybe it's time to build small solar units for restaurants only. You want to start delivery business. I mean, there are a lot of things that are problems that you can actually figure out how to solve. And you don't have to be a tech crazy person. You can collaborate with other people and do it. Thank you very much. That's my time.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Simeon. That's bringing some good and practical perspective to that. I love that analogy or example of somebody who wanted to do a spa. Now she couldn't start a spa. She had to approach somebody who has a salon and attack it. Do you know, I think it's a beautiful way of collaboration, because possibly she'll be paying, she'll be sharing in paying the rent.
Yes.
For it. So the guy who is doing the salon is actually benefiting. and she's also benefiting because possibly she couldn't rent.
It's leveraging on customers.
And that reminds me of an example I had about some time ago. Somebody wanted to do pure water. Now she couldn't start the factory. So she approached somebody who had a factory and said, can we use your factory in the night? Now, the man that owns the factory knows to say, normally I don't run the factory in the night. Now somebody is willing to come and use it in the night and pay me some money. So that way, this young man who couldn't start a factory started producing water when pure water was a real business in his own brand. So these are some of the things we can do. Thank you, Mr. Simeon. I think that's quite.
I mean, you can even go as far as Waka now. I mean, right now they are looking for somebody to handle their customer service. They are tired of handling customer service. If you have a house and you can handle customer service in the night, get 10 people. You approach them. They give you the job. You do that. You become a customer service person. Like there's a lot of things you can do to actually. I'm not kidding. There's fair money. I know the company, the lady that is handling support, all she does the whole month is looking for how to recover money that was given out as loan. That's all. So she has a room filled in her house with people calling customers that are owing this particular company. She makes 26 million every single month from just doing that. So you can build business. And right now, she's not trying to take it to the next level to approach banks with that, success story. So if you can do the same thing, look for, things that you can start from there. We already have businesses that already have needs. So if you can focus on those needs, you can grow. I will tell you a simple story. YC company called Stripe. Stripe only had one customer and became $1 billion company. One customer. Why? They just leveraged Dropbox. They leveraged Dropbox. They became the only person processing Dropbox funds. And that is all. Through connectivity, through networking, because they were all both YC companies, they became very, very big. And every other person, if you can process for Dropbox, process for us. And that's how they became big. So it's not about, collaboration is not about, collaboration is not about just going to your competition, do that. No, it is about leveraging on what they don't have and trying to be the best at what they do. I beg, I don't talk too much.
Right, thank you. Quite a valuable thing.
I like this.
So I think we move to Phil. Can we have some insight, like I asked, in addition to what has been said, what practical steps can young Africans who are here take to starting their own business or to discovering opportunities? Phil.
I was on mute. So I think there's a few things. I think the one is that you need to start small. I think a lot of people, when we sit down and the first day we plan our business, we plan this enormous corporation, and yeah, it's great, we all want to own Microsoft, but sometimes we just actually need to start with one thing. We need to start small. We need to do it. I think the biggest barrier for any new business person, for any entrepreneur, is doing the first thing. I think if you just do it, it's not going to be perfect. And I think you've got to get your brain around the fact that it's not going to be perfect. But sometimes perfect is the enemy of good. And I think you need to do it. You need to document it. You need to talk about how well you've now done it, the learnings that you've got out of it. And I think that you need to start there. I think it's very, very difficult. That first step as a business person, or as somebody sitting there going, okay, I want to start my own thing. I've got this concept or this idea. They want to make it perfect. So they want to take it to this point where it's an absolute perfect perfection thing. And I think sometimes then we get so caught up with making it perfectly or doing it perfectly or doing it 100% how we have it in our heads, that we don't take that brave leap of putting it out there. And I'm talking now about anything. It can be a product. It can be a digital artist, somebody who's going, all right, well, I want to go and do graphic design. So they spend weeks and weeks putting together this amazing website and this amazing portfolio. And they don't want to release it because it's not perfect yet. And you know what? Sometimes just get the stuff out there. Get it out there. Let people see it, and then you can fix it as you go. But it's never going to be perfect first time out the gate. But start. just start.
I think that's quite a good one. I think quite some powerful quotes are coming from this discussion, and I want the digital champions reshare this, tweet it, tag Digital Africa. Like Phil said, he said, perfect is the enemy of good. Just start. Just start. I think that's a good one. And if you're somebody who is in the project management space, one of the things that is trending now is agile methodology, where you start and iterate and improve on what you have done. And Phil is, I think he's an expert in project management. Thank you, Phil, for that. I think we now go to Mike. Mike, share with young Africans on this platform. What practical steps can they do to harness the opportunities in the digital space?
All right, thank you very much. I'm just going to make this very quick. There are lots of opportunities available in the digital economy in Africa as we speak today. Digital technology offers a chance to disrupt the trajectory that we have. And I want to piggyback on a lot of things that has already been said by Philippa and Simon in the area of collaboration and improving on what is on the ground. You don't need to reinvent the wheel at all. Technology is there. You just need to adopt it to what works for you and then scale it up. So quickly, a quick win for our participants that they can leverage on, even if they don't have the resources to go big, is to look for job opportunities in the digital space. There are lots of job opportunities you can apply. I mean, there is never an end to search engine experts, people that can develop programs and things that could harness on what is already in existence. There are lots of opportunities for coders as well in the digital space. People who can write programs, people who can develop applications that banks, financial institutions, health sector, all these sectors can leverage on to improve on their product offering. There's also what we know today as social media influencers. They leverage on the power of technology. Obina mentioned about the lady who has used the power of social media to grow business. A lot of businesses today use social media to drive marketing. A lot of people use social media influencers to penetrate market reach. Some of these competitions you see that come up oftentimes are a precursor to probably a product launch, kind of like testing the waters, seeing how people are going to perceive a product and everything before the mainstream media will now come out with probably an advertisement of that product and all that. So social media influencer is some opportunity that exists within the digital space. And then, of course, a lot of organizations, just like Simon said, are beginning to outsource customer service jobs. This is something that blew up during this COVID pandemic. So because people are working from home, it is possible for you to see big corporations across the globe having customer service persons working for them. So because people are not coming into store, you call in when you have a problem, and the first responders, they'll get the information, the questions you want. If it is not something that they can handle on a frontline basis, they will now escalate to a more qualified person. So you see that why those in store take care of those who are in the store. The time you would spend in the store is reduced because when you call in, somebody is already trying to sort out what your problems is. Most banks even do it right now. You have bots who answer your calls. They want to see what the issues are. If it is something that you can be directed to do on a digital platform, i.e. internet banking or the rest of them, you quickly do it. Before now, it was uncommon for you to check your balances on your phone, or your account balance that is on the phone, but then you had to go to the bank, queue up. If you remember the days of UTV adverts back in the days, tally number. You go with your mat, you roll up your mat, you stay in the bank, you take a tally number, you wait for hours simply to just get your bank balance or to confirm if your salary has been paid. But these days, digital space has made it so that banks are beginning to come up with apps that's making banking very easy. So fintech is a wonderful opportunity. And I want to quickly mention here that there is something that probably most Nigerians don't know. In fact, most Africans don't know. The World Bank and International Finance Corporation commissioned an African company, B Systems Limited, to come up with national collateral registry across Africa. Now, what this does is, against the traditional use of established collaterals or immovable collaterals like houses and title documents and the rest of them to collect loan. Do you know that you could, as a farmer, you could actually use your tractor, you could actually use your family implement, you could actually use your production equipment as a collateral to seek loan from banks. This is being made possible by the World Bank and International Financial Corporations, and there is nothing that was done. All that needed to be done was for this organization, B Systems Limited, to come up with a portal, collateral registry portal. Now you go there, you register your movable, tangible assets, and those can be used as collateral. So these are opportunities that an African tech company is already using, to deepen financial inclusion in Africa. Just like you have the example in East Africa, where microfinance bank is going very quickly. You see what is happening also in our own fintech space. You see companies like Virtual Bank, you see Alert and the rest of them. There is enormous opportunity for our budding techpreneurs in the digital space. Come up with a mobile app that will disrupt the banking services as we know it. The business of banking, for instance, which is an area I'm very passionate about, is something that we can keep improving on. We can't just stop what we do for now, we can improve upon it. And I believe with all these examples and with what the bootcamp is offering, you stand a good chance to leverage on technology to scale up your initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mike, for that perspective. Luckily, something I was trying to ask you, he was also able to bring what even, it's not all about entrepreneurs, even as an employee, you can be an entrepreneur in your organization. Thank you for bringing that perspective. Sorry, we're going to run up this discussion in less than 4 minutes. So I just want the remaining participants in maybe less than 60 seconds to add their perspective to this. Starting from Mr. Obinaya, what practical steps can we take? 50 seconds.
Okay, very simple. My practical step is knowledge is profitable to direct. Make sure you participate. Like I will say, keep an open mind. All you know is not all there is to know. Make out time. If people pay money, they pay attention. Now you're not paying money, but you're paying data, you're spending your time. May I encourage you to please pay time. 20% of your effort will give you 80% of your results. That's the Pareto principle. The Yorubas will tell you that 20 children born the same year can never play together for 20 years. Just by joining this revolution, you have distinguished yourself from the rest of your colleagues. Watch out in the next 20 years. You may just be the senator, the honorable member, or the governor from your state, who knows, or even the president. If Shagari could be a president with grade 2 certificate, who knows what you could become. I wish you the very best. See you on the bootcamp.
Thank you, Mr. Obin. Let's go to Mr. Edem. Mr. Edem, in 30 seconds, what practical steps can young Africans on this call take?
Okay, thank you, Jude. So I'd like to say most of my colleagues on the panel have really said a lot. Everything has almost been said, but all that I would like to add is that in anything we do, we should find out about our passion, right? So we should always let passion drive us. If you see an opportunity that would be a solution to a problem, first of all, it's not just about just following this opportunity because everyone else is doing it, but ask yourself, is this something that I'm passionate about? Because at the end of the day, there will be challenges, and the only thing that can drive you to overcome your challenges is your passion. Yeah, so passion, opportunity, and now we have the advantage of technology. We can make use of technology to market our ideas. There's no rush, or there's no need to work on a perfect product. You have technology you can use to always push out a minimum viable product you have. Because the idea is get out your solution, get your idea out to a customer, someone who is ready to pay you for this solution, and then based on that, you can always grow your business. I'd like to share a novel that I read. This book is entitled The $100 Startup. So I would encourage participants to look for this book. Maybe I'll share that the title and the author also in the chat. The $100 Startup: Reinvent the Way You Make a Living, Do What You Love, and Create a New Future. It's a great book. It gives a lot of ideas. You don't need $1 million to start a business. You can always start small. You don't need so much money. Start small and start anyway. And then, yeah, just let passion drive you to succeed. Thank you, Jude.
Finally, we come to Mr. Daniel. Please, in 30 seconds, can you share with young Africans what practical steps can they take to leverage digital opportunities in Africa?
All right. I must say that if you are here in this call, you've made the first practical step. It shows that you are passionate, you seek out knowledge, and that is one advantage or one characteristics of an achiever. Now, we encourage you to go out there, identify a problem, look for the solution, then ask yourself, what resources do I need to solve this problem? How do I monetize the solution that I have come up with? And then please don't forget to agree on the terms of the solution with whoever or whatever resources that you have put together to solve these problems. So I look forward to meeting with us personally at the boot camp. It promises to be an exciting, very exciting moment and a very exciting period. I believe a lot of businesses will be given wings and a lot of businesses will be bettered after the boot camp. Africa has all it takes to win in this race. Africa has all it takes to begin to export technology to the rest of the world. And we can start now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Thank you, our distinguished panelists. I think you have done justice to this topic and to this discussion. Thank you, our Digital Africa champions.